啥呢？不看路啊？
哦，我走的是盲道啊。
什么盲道啊？
盲人走盲道啊。
This is honestly making me so angry. Not angry at the fact that this happened, but angry that I found out this whole thing was actually fake. Yeah, it was a fake encounter. They're acting. This creator is allegedly blind and she has over 1 million followers on social media in China. She posted a video of her walking on a blind path when a scooter driver hit her. And this video was honestly rage-inducing because you're like, no way in China does this actually happen where a person hits a blind person and just blames the blind person, right? But later it turns out she might have been the one rage baiting with all her blind content. And there's so many layers to this story, it's kind of crazy. First is obviously the fabrication of this video. According to the official investigation, the man in the video on the scooter was an actor faking his encounter with the blind creator. And internet users also pointed out some flaws in the way she talked in the video, such as when asked why she didn't look at where she was going, you know, instead of being like, oh, because I'm blind, she says, I'm walking on the blind pathway. A normal blind person would have said just, you know, because I'm blind. But her reply was really just emphasizing the fact that she was walking on the blind path, which is quite strange. Others have found evidence of other videos that she posted where, such as one where she gets dropped off at the wrong place by a taxi driver, only to be discovered by another girl who was sitting in a wheelchair, and then they bonded together to become each other's support to walk around the city. So this formula of getting sympathy and the unfortunate encounter, it's always so nicely set up with a camera placed right in front of the chest, right? Honestly, this led to the second point, which is people discussing whether or not she's truly blind or partial blind, or she's just faking the whole thing. In one of the live stream videos she did, it seems like she's able to locate things quite easily, where her cups are, where to drink, and others also pointed out her conversation with a girl off screen is quite weird for a blind person.
再来看，又有了，又有冰了，玫瑰了，又没了。你太过分了。
它就一瞬间，哦，有了，我看到了。
As we know that when you lose your visuals, you tend to focus more on the auditory, which means like you can still hear people from the side. You might not need to look, right? So that's something that people think like blind people have more auditory cues than visual, so she shouldn't be turning her head. Of course, these are all speculations, but she could have just been partially blind, and that, you know, this whole thing was real in the sense that she is a blind person, but that she's just making stories. But anyways, so the point is, this story that she made up had so many holes, such as the one where she claimed in the original video that this was made a while ago and not recent. She actually settled with a scooter driver, but internet users found an ad on one of the frames on her phone that popped up, which showed a promotion for May 1st, which suggests that this video was likely made sometimes in May or just right before May. So that brings us to the third layer. Like, what if the internet exposing her of this is also fake? But is she real? Or are they both fake? Or what if I'm fake? What if you're fake? What if everybody's fake? Sorry, anyways, the point is, like, just this whole story is just kind of shocking because you never think of to profit off of disability, right? At least not in this context. But the idea here is that the official story says a blind content creator is making false content to garner interest online to get views, which is not the first time things like this have happened. Funny enough, I actually recorded a short video for this, and then when I went to go edit, I watched the whole video again of this encounter, and I was like, this seems way too staged. And also just her voice. But anyways, okay, no offense to people with disabilities. My point is, it's a weird situation, okay? And the fourth one is this culture of faking things. Why is it that, which by the way we'll expand on in just a second, but like the question is always, why do they fake everything, you know? Because China never changes. It's always about faking the next thing. And it's not the idea of like finding new things to fake, but it's rather on things that you wouldn't think normally to be fake, they're doing that, okay? So it's not unusual to have this stuff, like a blind girl using sort of the sympathy, rage, strange content type of thing in China is not new. We had people who were like, there was a concrete girl. I made a video about this where she basically appealed to sympathy, that she was a hardworking girl, you know, carrying bags of cement on her back. And it turns out she was fake, and all of the videos were staged. There was this girl named Ma Yibei, or Mao Yibei. She basically made up this whole story. It was really strange of how she found a boy's elementary homework in Paris. And then there was also the whole thing with fake delivery drivers pretending to be delivery drivers. There were fake salesmen, just everything, you know? The idea of selling misery as sort of a gain of traffic and views in China is very popular. There's that niche, right? Then there's also the niche of like selling nationalism, which is like hating Japan, hating the U.S., hating Israel, hating everybody else. Anything that the CCP doesn't align with, but the U.S. aligns with, yeah, they gotta hate. So to better understand this idea of a fakery environment, I want to highlight another one. Okay, this is actually also a recent scandal. For Chinese people, something you regularly eat can just be a bad, fake, or toxic scandal in the making. As I said, they don't tend to focus on things that are new. They just kind of focus on things that are stable in people's lives, okay? So these are toxic bayberries, which are hitting the market. For how many years, we don't know, because apparently, according to a new investigation, bayberries, which are sour and sweet, often made into frozen snacks, and for the summer, and frozen drinks, yeah, they're also made with terrible, terrible contents, like being soaked in 800 times of unregulated sweeteners and preservatives. And they're being shipped across China daily, but workers are refusing to touch them, and local authorities launched a special investigation into it. That tells you everything you need to know about this current industry. So basically what happened was in some areas in southern China, the berries where they come from have a bunch of these shops in small towns, and these reporters went in there undercover to basically find there's unnamed sweeteners. People are dumping it into the water, the solution, without measuring it, which obviously violates food safety code. But these shops, they don't really have any standards to begin with. In other shops, workers are using sodium dihydroacetate as a preservative. And again, these are very toxic. If you consume them for a very long time, you get hormonal and metabolic problems. Some of them are even using counterfeit sweeteners. And so if you know anything about China, right, it is that these are just tip of the iceberg, in a sense, like the real stuff that they use off camera, or the shops that they haven't been looking into probably are doing this like 10 times worse. But if the workers are not eating them, that's a huge sign. But the question is always like, if it happens so often in China, what's real? Because the idea here is that people are profit driven and they don't have a moral obligation to stop themselves from doing anything. So my answer to this is that it won't stop. They will do the most to fake things than to actually innovate and build better things. After seeing these videos, I think you'll understand it better. Internet user disassembled a power bank labeled 20,000 milliamps and found that it contained 5 rechargeable batteries, 3 of which were filled entirely with sand. And this one, speaking of battery, lithium battery prices are rising, and some internet users noticed that fake lithium batteries are becoming more common, with some filled with sand. Another internet user says, could the tank shells being used on tanks also are filled with sand? Probably. This Chinese brand Deli printer is actually the Japanese brand brother underneath. They just took off the tag.
哎呦喂，赶紧做好做好。
Internet users purchased 10 kitchen oil pots online for testing, and the results were shocking. Only 2 of them met the standards. Many of these contain high amounts of manganese, which we talked about in one of our last videos about China fake things, and it's toxic for human consumption, for eating. So yeah, cut corners, spam, fake. Welcome to the land of China. Thank you very much for watching this episode. Hope you enjoyed the content. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and let me know which topic you would like to see covered next. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time.